You are listening to Arcane Carolinas, an exploration of the Carolinas' folklore, legends, myths, and modern weird. Each episode, we examine the historical context of our topic and aim to preserve some of the stories that help make this part of the world such a fascinating place.
Writing.
Hello and welcome to the Arcane Carolinas Winter Wondercast. I love holiday specials.
Okay.
You know this about me. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily share my love.
I love very specific holidays, and thus I love very specific holiday specials.
Mm-hmm. I love the Christmas special tradition of movies, shows, everything. Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Love it. Mm-hmm. Mickey's Christmas Carol. Also love it.
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Scrooged. Love it.
Scrooged. Yes, I dig Scrooged a lot.
I'm just naming variants on A Christmas Carol right now.
That's true. That's true. You are.
But no, like Peanuts holiday special, like all the classics. Like I'm into it. Mm-hmm. So when I said to Michael, "Hey, we should do the Arcane Carolinas Winter Wondercast," and he went along with it, I was like, I can't believe that worked.
I mean, as long as I don't have to do anything to celebrate the season myself, then I'm fine.
Okay. Well, there you go.
That was a very dry joke. Just FYI.
So I went on Amazon and I got us this lovely Sears Portrait Studio backdrop.
But, you know, it's like very festive, and it took very little effort to set up that tree, I would imagine.
Yeah, you know, I just pulled it out of the plastic bag that it came in, and I hung it up. I don't know what I'm going to do with it after this, but I'm sure I'll find a use for it next year.
Picnic tablecloth.
Big table.
Yeah.
Big table. So, what would an Arcane Carolinas holiday special look like?
Are you asking me that, or are you asking that rhetorically?
Kind of rhetorically, but
okay, then no, go ahead. I don't want to.
He doesn't know what I've prepared.
Yeah, I have no idea. I am not the person driving for this, so I have no idea what's in store.
We did not do our regular intro. I'm your co-host, Charlie Mushaw.
I'm your other co-host, award-winning novelist Michael G. Williams. I would bet, though, that anybody who watches this knows who we are.
We just generally don't do video, as you know.
It's so different. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be a little funny if somebody stumbles across this and they don't know who we are. And they're like, these guys are terrible at videos. They are just awful. There's no cool pop-ups. There's no thumbnail with them like.
It would be very funny to me if someone who sincerely knew nothing about us watched this and was just like, they really should have stuck to audio. Like, these people should have podcasted. Never done this.
I thought since our social media feed, the Arcane Carolinas Facebook feed, all it's been for the last 2 weeks is people essentially cutting and pasting stories, snippets from like the same one or two articles about all these Christmas legends that are like scary or spooky or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be fun to just jam them all into one list.
Okay.
Because most come from this guy named Paul Hawkins. Mm-hmm. He literally wrote the book on it. It's called Bad Santas and Other Creepy Christmas Characters.
Oh, wow. I would love to read that.
Yeah. And he's done interviews and you can find articles that he's authored. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just put it all in one place.
There we go.
All right. And then we'll talk about the English tradition of ghost stories at Christmas a little bit.
That's something I really enjoy about the holidays.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was something that you mentioned to me back in like September or something. Mm-hmm. And it sort of planted that seed of we should do something. I don't know what. so I bought this thing.
There we go.
And here we are.
One of the wonders of producing a show is how much of it turns out is just ad lib.
Yes.
You know, how much of it just springs from why not?
That's our whole thing.
Yeah, pretty much. The entire show sprang from why not.
Somebody once said, I love the scripted parts. I'm like, they're not scripted.
Right. Oh my gosh. It would feel so much more pressure if it were scripted.
I would need somebody a lot funnier than myself to write my bits. if I agreed to something being scripted. Like somebody would really need to be like, hey, I'm funny and you're not. Here it is. Otherwise, I'd just feel like I was reading a play or something.
A table read. Every episode.
Yeah, every episode's a table read. Yeah. We have a table and I'm about to read.
There we go.
So the 800-pound gorilla in the room is Krampus.
Obviously.
When it comes to Christmas monsters.
Yeah. It's very fashionable.
Yes. And has been for a couple of years. For those that don't know, Krampus is an anthropomorphic demonic goat that punishes misbehaving children.
Who among us doesn't love every part of that?
He rips out girls' pigtails and beats children.
Gosh.
This is all from Paul Hawkins. This is like the expert account.
Wow. I didn't know that part. I thought they just got stuffed in the sack.
Yeah, no, it's a sack or a basket.
Okay.
And he'll carry off a child of his choosing and eat them for Christmas dinner.
Oh, wow. I'd missed a lot of the rougher edges of this.
So one of the things that I appreciate about Mr. Hawkins' writings is that he really digs into the stuff that sort of the rough edges that get polished off on some of these stories and these monsters, where he's like, this is how we think of it today. This is how it was. It's still a Christmas monster.
Yeah.
So December 5th is Krampusnacht. Don't judge me for my pronunciation of other languages words, because there's a lot of them in here and it's going to be bad.
We'll get through it.
We'll get through it.
Just imagine how whoever speaks that language natively pronounces some of our words.
Right. It would make for a really funny TikTok video or something. You can just be like, look at this American mispronouncing all these words. And then just like, Krampusnacht. You hear the way he said that?
I mean, as far as I know, that's more or less right.
Well, I mean,
we'll say it's correct. And then
it's probably a lot more throaty. It's Krampusnacht.
Don't think of it as getting it wrong. Think of it as teaching the controversy.
Yeah. Okay. So Krampusnacht is a night where men in homemade Krampus costumes would charge around alpine villages with pitchforks, demanding booze and threatening strangers.
So, to jump in briefly, there is an Appalachian tradition of doing that in some of the really high mountains.
Really?
Yes. It's not something that was practiced in the place where I grew up, but I have seen interviews as part of my academic program and a documentary about some of the disappearing holiday practices of very specific remote regions of Appalachia. And this is one of the ways in which there is no uniform Appalachian culture. Basically, Appalachian culture is whatever anybody was doing in that holler. And and it might be totally different from the next holler over. But there are towns in West Virginia and in the western part of Virginia and in eastern Kentucky where young men would dress up like devils and go around with pitchforks and knock on doors and demand booze, moonshine. And that was something that was done in early December. And the people that are interviewed about it didn't really understand where it came from. But these are parts of Appalachia that were mostly populated by German immigrants.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it kind of ties into, I don't think I have this monster on the list, but you know that Welsh horse skull thing?
The name of which I would never be able to pronounce.
Right. But wassailing and that, right? It's also similar. You show up and you get your mulled wine, your spiced whatever. Yeah. Have you ever had that? I don't like it.
Oh, I love mulled wine.
No, there's a specific old timey recipe.
Yeah, no, I've made wassail before. I love it.
Ugh.
Oh, it's great.
Ugh. See, kids, you can have different opinions and get along.
How about wassail? Sure. There are boundaries.
One time, this is an aside. So I decided to roast chestnuts over an open fire. Have you ever done that?
No.
I tried to do that.
Because it's really easy to get the kind of chestnuts that are gross.
What I found out was the little Walmart brand fireplace tool set that I had gotten was made with the finest pot metals. And the front end of the shovel went thunk and fell off because I had them on a shovel. I was trying to roast them in there. The metal that they had affixed the blade of the shovel to the handle just melted away.
Oh my gosh.
So then I had this cool little puddle of T1000 molten metal.
A bunch of burning chestnuts in the middle of it.
I was just like, well, that's done. Not doing that again.
Those are the sacrificial chestnuts.
Right. You sacrifice those to whatever that horse's name is.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of why we still see Krampus runs, right?
Yeah, totally.
You'll still see that. I think you could tie that to it as well. And the Krampus still is around. People still talk about the legend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Even here in America in the 19th century, you could purchase postcards and stuff. If you Google Krampus card or Krampus Christmas card, they were a prominent thing.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. So in the Roaring 20s or whatever, you might have gotten a Krampus card from
That's really great.
from a German immigrant friend of yours or whatever.
I'm surprised that, I don't know, I guess sending cards is now sort of out of fashion because otherwise Krampus is so fashionable that I would have expected that to return.
I have a dear friend, and she sends us cards for important events and dates and stuff, and I love it. And I wish I was the kind of person that was thoughtful enough to do that.
I've done it before. It's something that I am not organized enough to do reliably.
No. So our next monster,
Yes.
which I will mispronounce,
Okay.
is Lucia. In Norway and Sweden, December 13th is now known as St. Lucia's Day.
How's it spelled?
See, that's the thing.
Okay.
Now it's Lucia.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
The old spelling, the olden spelling, the old ways, Michael. The old ways.
The old magic.
Right. Lussia.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm like, Luscia? No, it's got to be Lucia, right? Because the way it's spelled now matches. Who knows?
I'm not going to hazard a guess.
So nowadays, St. Lucia's, you've probably seen the imagery of it. The pretty young lady with the crown of like holly or whatever with the candles. So that's St. Lucia. But it used to be a lot different in the before times with the old magic. It was known as Lucy's Night.
Okay.
And it was the night when evil spirits would come out and wander the earth, and children needed to be good. Lest they get them.
There's a lot of that kind of thing built into Christmas time traditions, holiday traditions, isn't there?
There's a lot of psychological manipulation.
I think it's like one part psychological manipulation, one part it's dark outside all night, all the time. It's like instantly dark. We see the sun for like 4 seconds.
Right, especially in like Norway.
Be careful,
like, you know.
Don't go wandering around in the dark.
So Lucy, Lussi,
okay,
was like an evil demon, an evil lady demon that rode, I know her, that rode through the skies on a broomstick, accompanied by her crew of evil spirits and trolls.
Sounds like a fun time.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure I know these people.
Pretty sure I am these people.
But the whole thing was, you got to be in bed early.
Yeah.
And you got to have a cross on the front of your house, or else they're going to come get you. Mm-hmm. And then that turned into, they softened it later, right? And they were just like, no. It's no longer this evil creature that's going to come get you. We celebrate St. Lucia. Mm-hmm. So there's that one. But I found that interesting because the crown with the candles and everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know where that came from.
Yeah. There's a holiday movie, the name of which I'll never remember. So this is going to be the world's most useless anecdote.
All right.
But that's what you get when you don't write a script. Anyway.
I got notes.
You've got notes. There's a holiday movie about a family. This is going to sound really lousy. It's a comedy holiday movie about a family being held hostage by a home invader as they celebrate the holidays with their extended family. And the mother in it is obsessed with St. Lucia and that part of the holiday tradition.
Okay, so you knew about this.
And so she has the crown and she puts candles in it and walks around and tells the story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a Die Hard Christmas this year. Well, I guess Die Hard is a Christmas movie, or set at Christmas, whatever. Fight me on that. It's set at Christmas. It's a Christmas movie. It's fine. I pull it out at Christmas time.
Sure.
But
I don't care enough about Die Hard to have an opinion.
It was John McClane one year for Halloween. It was awesome.
That's funny.
It was great. I taped I made sure it was one that you could very easily recognize as not being a real firearm. And I taped one of those things that shoots the little rubber BBs, like Neon, whatever. I taped it to my back and walked around with it. And after a couple hours and being into my cups, I was like,
That's really funny.
Yeah. So anyway, but there's that movie that's coming out this year with David Harbour, where there's a family that's being held captive by home invaders.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. And he's Santa Claus. And he basically John McClane's his way against the home invaders that are robbing this family.
Okay. Interesting.
To rescue them because the little girl still believes.
I think it says a lot about the holidays that we have so many movies about terrible things happening at the holidays.
You will not steal my joy.
No, you can be happy all you want.
So, the next monster. I have no idea how to say this.
Okay.
Caracancolos?
How do you spell it?
Karakancolos.
Caracancolos? Sure. That's as good as anything I'm going to come up with. So let's say yes.
Yeah. So in Turkey,
okay, yeah.
Picture the devil mixed with Sasquatch, so like a really hairy Looney Tunes devil covered in brown fur.
Okay.
That's what this guy is.
Interesting.
And he would stand on street corners on winter nights asking passerbys riddles.
Interesting.
If you give an answer that includes the word black, they're free to go on their way.
Oh.
Otherwise, he kills you.
Oh gosh.
That's
This is high stakes trivia.
So he would do that. And to lure people in, he could imitate the voices of people that you knew.
I love this.
Yeah, it's super creepy.
This is very, very creepy. I dig it. This is awesome. Yeah.
Sometimes in Serbian tradition, so that was Turkey. In Serbia, Karak and Kolos would jump on your back and use you as a personal taxi until the sun came up.
But that mirrors, the witch riding traditions of
that's what I'm saying.
Europe.
That's why I was so excited when I was reading this guy's work that collated all these stories and put them all together and did all the research. I'm like, this guy did all the work for me. All I got to do is connect dots. This is awesome.
Also, basically this is the outline that is being followed by a lot of people post about stuff.
It's so fun because I saw a couple of them and was like, no, we're doing all of them. So buckle up. We're going to be here for tens of minutes. Tens.
I'm into it. I'm learning a lot. This is great.
Okay. So the way you would defeat I have to look at it every time. Karak and Kolos is if you get him to come in your house, he had a predisposition to mimic the owner of the home. So you could play with fire and light a string and he'd set his fur on fire and run out of the house.
So you have to survive asking the question.
Or if you see him, you're just like, hey, come in.
Oh, okay. So
and then he's compelled to come in.
Oh, so he's compelled to enter.
And then is compelled to mimic you.
Yeah.
So you can take the power back using the old ways. I'm going to say that's the bit now. I'm just going to keep saying that.
I don't know. I'm not going to have time to explore this in this statement, but there's a lot there that's sort of the mirror image of Eastern European vampire legends. And the idea of it's the opposite of they have to be invited in order to enter.
Yeah, no, you want him to come in so you can trick him into setting himself on fire.
Like you want them to come in so that you can make them go away. And when you invite them, they are compelled.
Yeah.
But there's so much to unpack there. Like I said, I'm never going to have time to do this, so I won't even try. But there's so much to unpack there about what were people afraid of? They were afraid of an intruder. They were afraid of mistaken identity. They were afraid of questions of identity. Also, probably monsters.
I mean, have you played Cuphead? Are you familiar with Cuphead?
No.
Cuphead. It's a video game.
Let's all learn about it together.
Let's all learn together. Cuphead is a video game.
Yeah.
There's also a cartoon on Netflix. It's pretty good.
Okay.
I like it.
Sure.
And the first iteration of the game, before it was a success and they did downloadable content and extra episodes, it was called Don't Deal with the Devil. And the protagonist is basically what I just described, like a hairy version of a Looney Tunes devil.
Yeah.
And he owns a casino in the Cuphead world. But anyway, I'm just imagining that version of that character being like, hello, on the corner, and me being like, nope, you get in my house.
I'm gonna burn so many strings.
Right. So let's keep it moving. Let's go to Greece.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I could do this all. I could do this all day.
I'm easily derailed.
Greece. There's a group of demons called the, here we go, let's butcher it again. Kalakanzaroi. Kalakanzaroi?
Something like that. Yeah, Kalikanzaroi, something like that.
Them boys.
Yes.
This group would spend the year underground sawing through the tree of life that ran through the earth.
Wow.
Yes. And by December, there was only a single thread holding the tree together. But the 12 days of Christmas would compel them to go above ground and stop their sawing.
Okay.
And when the 12 days of Christmas were done and they went back down, the tree of life had repaired itself.
I feel like we're seeing some syncretic stuff happen there, where some traditions are getting combined.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, that's what all this is.
Yeah.
All of this is that.
Yeah,
we used to do this, now we do that. Let's put them all together.
Yeah, That's fascinating.
But when they were above ground, they're all bad. Like all these characters are so bad. They would steal babies born during the 12 days of Christmas to take them back with them to be turned into these monsters.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets really dark.
So if you had a kid in that period of time, you're extra protective.
And the way you would protect them would be tying them up with straw and garlic. What every infant needs.
Definitely.
Hay and garlic.
It's like Dracula manger scene.
It's really something.
Dracula manger scene. That's a short story waiting to be written. Okay, go ahead.
But the way
that one away.
Another way you could keep them out of your house was with a colander, because they like to count the holes.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And when you get to the number 3 in Greek tradition, it's a holy number and they can't go past it. So they'd have to start over again.
Huh.
So there's this whole gaggle of them boys. 1, 2, 3. Damn it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
So really, you just need like a hole punch and a strip of paper in a real pinch.
Yeah, that goes to 4.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to get past 3.
Right.
You don't even really need any more than 4.
Like click, 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 click.
Oh man, we should totally make and give this out at an event if we do something around a holiday. It won't work for any holiday. Anyway, point being, you get a string and a lighter and a hole punch and a strip of paper. like you know how you can buy like jokey vampire kits or whatever? The Arcane Carolinas Christmas time old magic kit.
That's really funny.
People will be like, this just looks like a bag of trash.
Yeah.
Well. So anyway, big one. Frau Perchta.
Okay.
Christmas witch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Perchta, pre-Christian tradition, was an alpine goddess whose particular celebration day coincided with the 12th night of Christmas.
Okay.
A pre-Christian religion, pre-Christian religions were displaced. They made her a demonic witch who stalked villages, punishing anyone who dared to displease her.
Of course.
So she was a horned monster. Mm-hmm. And sometimes she could like shapeshift to be a mischievous, disheveled old woman.
You know what probably displeased her? Being displaced. Right. Just going to guess. Just going to take a random guess.
But here's the thing. If you were faithful to her and observed her rituals and traditions and obedient, she would appear to you as a beautiful woman. It was if you angered her or didn't follow the old ways that she would appear as a demonic horned monster with a ferocious anger.
I'm on team Frau Perchta.
Yeah, so you just had to do her rituals. Eat a traditional meal, bake a special cake, and she'd leave you alone. Otherwise, she will break into your house and gut you.
Oh.
Like literally remove your innards and replace them with pebbles. And again, straw. We're back to the straw. I don't really know.
Gosh. Wow. Heavens.
Yeah. She would just fill you with rocks and hay.
I love it. I want this as a holiday movie.
So here's my favorite one that I hope you didn't just read the title of. The Yule Lads.
The Yule Lads?
Yes.
As in like...
The Yule guys.
Like English young men.
Yes, the Yule Lads.
Okay.
It's an Icelandic thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 13 of them. And they were like metaphors for the trials of winter in a place like Iceland.
Yeah.
Right. One Yule lad a day visits you between December 12th and the 24th.
One Yule lad a day. Recommended daily allowance of Yule lads.
Yes, one a day. Do not exceed one Yule lad per day. 2 Yule lads per day or more may be hazardous to your health. So
it's too bad the show is family friendly.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
So today they're like tricksters. And they'll like slam your doors or like steal all your spoons. Right. Like stuff like that. Like
yeah, they're like little kind of like house goblin-y kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But in the olden times, they'd just like kill you.
Then how do you get 12 of them?
I mean, they would just kill whoever.
I guess a big family.
According to, I don't want to get this guy's name right because he really did all the work on this. Paul Hawkins. According to Paul Hawkins' research, gruesome brutality and gratuitous violence.
What says holiday spirit better than gruesome violence?
Apparently they escalated and escalated and escalated, and people had like way too much fun scaring kids with this to the point where in 1746 there was a public decree that banished the foolish custom of scaring children with the Yuletide lads.
Oh, poor kids.
But they're really your people because they also had I am so sorry. I can read, but just English and a little bit of Spanish. I am literate. But the Yolakatorin, the Christmas cat.
How do you spell it?
J-O with a Spanish accent mark.
Yeah.
L-A-K. O with an umlaut. 2 T's. U-R-I-N-N. So yeah, have fun with that one.
Yeah, I'm not even trying.
It's the...
Yeah, I am just not even trying.
Yeah.
The Christmas cat.
Yeah. So they had a Christmas cat. And it was this big monster beast.
Like Vampire Beast of Bladenborough monster beast?
Kind of. It had razor sharp whiskers. And its eyes were like fiery. Mm-hmm. And terrible claws.
Yeah.
I'm picturing Panther from He-Man a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So despite, the super scary stories being banned, like, hey, we got to stop like psychologically scarring our children. I shouldn't laugh about that, but like it got so out of hand. I had to be like, so we're really messing these kids up. If in 1746 you're messing kids up so bad that the government goes, hey, you're really messing these kids up, it's probably pretty bad.
This falls distinctly into that like happy realm though of stuff that happened so long ago that the fact that it's awful is hilarious.
The Christmas Cat made it into a book of Christmas poems for children in 1932. So I think the Christmas Cat is a late edition.
Okay, sure.
And in 1987, Bjork did her own version of the poem in one of her earliest solo recordings.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Gonna have to go look that up.
She can probably pronounce. I can pronounce Bjork.
I bet Bjork can pronounce Christmas cat.
I bet she can. So those are the Christmas monsters.
I like those. Those are pretty great.
Yeah, they're fun, right?
Yeah.
So when you see these posts with these images and they only take 1 or 2 sentences and they're like, Pectra, whatever, the Welsh thing. There's a lot more than just those 1 or 2 sentences.
The Welsh thing.
You know what I mean.
I do, and I'm never going to know how to say it.
Beautiful people, the Welsh. Weird horse. I got no beef with the Welsh. We've talked about this on another podcast.
Can you imagine the conversation that some 200, 300 years from now, podcaster equivalents are going to be having about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Well, they inscribed in their tradition the fact that their heroes were all bullies. And then he was only saved because he went to an island that was full of broken, monstrous things that he was able to convince to stand up for themselves, and they fought back. It's going to be this like weird epic tale.
All of which was brought to them by the ancient prophet Montgomery Ward.
So yeah, there's no way we're getting the cultural context around a lot of this.
No, not at all. But I say that to say, like, when you see these fun memes and stuff, like, there's a lot of stories there. Like, if you find one interesting, dig deeper. There's going to be so much more, because this is like scratching the surface. This is literally taking Paul Hawkins' work. I'm going to remember his name eventually. Just going from there. But I'm done with Paul Hawkins' Monsters of Christmas now.
Okay.
Now we're going to get to your wheelhouse.
Okay.
Christmas ghosts.
Yes.
So let's explore the origins of ghost stories at Christmas. Mm-hmm. And then I'll run through my notes, and then I'd love to hear your takes on it, since you are obviously more learned in this space than I am.
Not necessarily.
Well, this is your wheelhouse. We're in your territory now.
Okay.
So let me put my foot in my mouth, and then you can pull it out for me.
It's okay. Is that a polite way of saying don't interrupt me so much this time?
No, not at all. I want the interruptions. I want the interruptions.
Yes, go for it.
That's me acknowledging that I might be able to pronounce this stuff better. Because it's in English.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I also acknowledge that I didn't really think about this until you brought it up. And I know that there's people that are super into it. So a writer named Aaron Sagers wrote an exceptionally extensive article for Den of Geek exploring the origins. Mm-hmm. Like, real long piece. Mm-hmm. And it's important to note that Charles Dickens didn't create the idea of Christmas ghost stories. They predate Charles Dickens.
Yeah, they're much older than he is.
But he definitely is attributed to having cemented it as something exceptionally British because of his fame. Mm-hmm. So he broke big, right?
I mean, like, to understand how big of a deal he was, take like J.K. Rowling and Anne Rice and Stephen King and like roll them all together.
Right.
Like international mega star.
So when he was like, I'm writing Christmas ghost stories, it blew up and everyone started copying, right? Yeah. So, well, not everyone, because people were doing it before, but a lot more began being produced, and Victorian magazines and newspapers were publishing stories for the holidays, and readers loved it. Like, people really, really liked it because, what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right. So it's also important to note that a lot of these stories don't echo the Christmas Carol message and philosophy.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Like that's kind of what made that unique, was that it was kind of like sticking a thumb in the eye of industrialism and stuff like that. So that's another reason why that stood out. I just want to acknowledge some other authors.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Gaskell contributed a ghost story to a Dickens branded collection. He was so big that there were collections. This branded as like a round of stories by the Christmas fire.
Yeah.
Dickensian ghost stories.
Like what to these days when you see like something that's like Tom Clancy's Law,
Right, exactly.
written by somebody else entirely.
Yep.
That's
It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she did one. A guy named John Berwick Harwood wrote Horror, a True Tale, which I'm like, that's a Christmas story. Somebody named Ada Busen, The Ghost's Summons in 1868, another famous one. And again, I'm taking this all from the research of Aaron Sagers. Credit where credit is due. I did not read these stories. Robert Louis Stevenson's Markheim in 1885. So those are all British folks. And those are some of the more prominent British folks. By 1891, it was so big that there was a humorist. As the British would say.
Yes. Not a comedian.
Right.
Yeah. But a comedian.
A humorist. Yeah. Yes. Jerome K. Jerome. Which I'm guessing wasn't his real name.
I don't know. I have an uncle named William.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome. That is just such a lack of, I don't know what, or maybe it's not a lack. Maybe it's just like, I love it so much. Maybe it's not lack of creativity.
He goes by his middle name.
Okay. Which is also William. William Williamson Williams. Called him Willie. So Jerome K. Jerome wrote something called Told After Supper, where he commented on these types of stories. So I'm going to read a direct quote from him, which is available for free because it's from 1891 and you can find it on the Internet Archive. It's always Christmas Eve in a ghost story. Christmas Eve is the ghosts' great gala night. On Christmas Eve, they hold their annual fete. On Christmas Eve, everybody in Ghostland who is anybody comes out to show himself or herself, to see and be seen, to promenade and display their winding sheets and grave clothes to each other. Wherever 5 or 6 English-speaking people meet round a fire, they start telling ghost stories. Nothing satisfies us on Christmas Eve, but to hear each other tell authentic anecdotes about specters. It is a genial and festive season in which we love to muse upon graves, dead bodies, murders, and blood.
Yeah, but so it was, in a lot of ways, it was their Halloween in the absence of Halloween being a thing.
And I'm going to get to something about that.
Okay.
No, that's amazing because it ties into, yes, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Because obviously, U.S. Christmas, it's candy canes and lights and Santa Claus and, it's the Charlie Brown Christmas special. It's all the things that I named that I love about it. It's cookies. It's, hanging out with your friends and like, it's great. Quick aside.
Yes.
The speech at the end of Scrooge that Bill Murray gives.
Yeah.
That is some heartwarming stuff. I don't know if you've watched Scrooge lately, but if you can watch that and not feel something, you are a Grinch. Because what he says, it's plain speak. It's real. It's like, hey, tonight we're all going to be nicer to each other. And that's what it is. But what if we were nicer to each other tomorrow? Just a little bit. Like, you don't have to go crazy. Like, just a little bit more. And then if the person you're nice to is nice to the next person they see. And so I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I know it's a silly comedy, whatever. But like, for me, I'm like, that's really profound.
Yeah.
And it's delivered in such a way that it's, he's got his issues. I think Bill Murray's hilarious, but to hear it come from him, I know he didn't write it. I'm aware of that. But to hear it delivered by Bill Murray, I don't know. It just like, it's always made it stick for me. I don't know.
It's a great speech. It's a great movie.
Yeah. So anyway.
It's a phenomenal adaptation.
Yeah. That he didn't want to do initially.
Really?
Yeah. He didn't want to become the ghost guy.
Oh.
Because he had done Ghostbusters. He was like, man, I don't want to get typecast as like I only do ghost things.
Some of us would be so lucky.
Right. They made a deal where like he got to do one movie if he, agreed to do that kind of thing. So anyway, where was I? We were talking about Christmas Eve ghost stories.
Ghosts would promenade.
Yes. I think, so this is me. I'm pretty sure that like the fascination with like seances and hypnotism and mysticism, all that, like I think that probably fed it too.
Oh, absolutely. Because that stuff was rife at the time.
Yeah. So I think it plays into that. So what about the U.S.? Christmas wasn't a national holiday until 1870.
Yeah, in fact, it was considered sort of looked down upon to celebrate Christmas in the United States because it was too British.
So, Brittany Warman, a folklorist specializing in Gothic literature and the co-founder of the Catterhall School of Folklore and the Fantastic.
I like it.
It sounds like
that name.
I'm aware that it's probably not a physical place, but I would like it to be.
I would like it to be. I would like to have a degree from there. Thank you.
So she did an interview for the History Channel, and she explained that there were a few American writers of the period that like tried it on and like tried to get things across, including Nathaniel Hawthorne, Henry James, Edgar Allan Poe obviously set his 1845 poem, The Raven, in A Bleak December. Henry James, The Turn of the Screw, 1898, begins on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Washington.
Yeah, its wraparound is Christmas Eve.
Yeah. And Washington Irving actually made probably what is an early attempt. I couldn't find any before that, slipping supernatural into short stories set at Christmas in 1819 and 1820.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So, full credit to Brittany Warman. Her theory is that the reluctance to embrace the Christmas ghost story tradition had to do, at least in part, with the country's attitudes towards things like magic and superstitions. In America, there was resistance to supernatural in the way that European countries did not. This is all a quote. When you came to America, you came with a fresh start. You came with the secular mindset and the idea that you were leaving the past behind, and some of these spooky superstitions were thought of as being part of the past.
Oh, interesting. A little bit ironic because this is also the time of the rise and prevalence of spiritualism in the United States. And spiritualism was for many years, like not just the fastest growing branch of religion. I'm not going to get into the debate of whether or not it's Christianity, but like it was very rapidly growing and very widely practiced and recognized.
There's another factor though.
Yeah.
The Irish and Scottish immigrants already had Halloween.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they came over and were like, no, we already do that.
Yeah.
Like, no, we do that in October. Now is when we, feast and, be merry.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. And, they just love the British.
Yeah.
So regardless, other than A Christmas Carol, there are other large U.S. popular culture ties into spooky stories. More recently, you've got Nightmare Before Christmas. I'm thinking big, right? I'm thinking like true ingrained in the pop culture, not like indie horror films, of which there are like a billion.
But stuff that everybody knows about.
Right. I would argue that The Grinch is a Christmas monster.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, it's the most wonderful time of the year where it's like, there will be parties for hosting marshmallows for toasting and caroling. Butchering that. I shouldn't have done that.
Only we'd scripted the show.
There will be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. And that's way before any of those movies or her shows that I talked about.
Did you mention It's a Wonderful Life?
I didn't, but that counts.
I don't really have opinions about It's a Wonderful Life. It's not really my kind of movie, but
every time a bell rings, Michael hates this movie.
Pretty much. But so, I mean, like,
you want the moon? I'll get some moon.
I'm not going to get between anybody else and their movie. But bottom line being, it's
a wonderful time to shut up. Just start.
It really needs some editing. Okay, its plot is not well put together.
Clarence, you hear this guy?
But bottom line, it kind of bridges the gap between like ghost story, horror story, and heartwarming Christmas movie.
No, but I'm with you on that.
Also, he was much better in horror anyway.
He was. So, what is your favorite interpretation of A Christmas Carol?
Oh, gosh. My favorite interpretation of Christmas Carol. I guess I'm going to go with Muppet Christmas Carol.
Okay.
That said, Scrooged is really good. And if I had a few minutes to think about it, then there are probably some TV adaptations that I especially love.
Okay.
I'm sure somewhere along the way, Star Trek has done a Christmas Carol adaptation, and I really loved it, probably.
They have to have.
It's not just immediately springing to mind.
Yeah.
But like the one that if somebody said, I want to watch a version of A Christmas Carol right this second, pick one, then Muppet Christmas Carol every time.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I think for me, it's probably going to be either Mickey's Christmas Carol, the one from the early 80s, or Scrooged. Those are my two. Something about Mickey warming his hands over the tiny candle.
See, cool. I don't think I've ever watched it.
It's so good.
I mean, like the George C. Scott one is also great.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a great story is the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Do you hear that? It's the phone.
Oh.
Who do you think it is?
I have no idea.
We should get it. Oh, thank you.
Hello? Tally?
Tally Johnson?
It's Tally Johnson.
Ghost hunter and author, storyteller extraordinaire?
Indeed. It's the very same.
Yes! You might know Tally from our Palmetto State Ghosts episode from way back when we started. That's awesome.
Yeah. Here. We'll let him talk.
Yeah, put it in the middle.
Hey kids, it's Tally Johnson, dropping in to say hey to the guys from Arcane, Carolinas. I think I might give y'all a little taste of my forthcoming book from Distracted Dragon Press, Revolutionary War Ghost to South Carolina. And the story is the King's Messengers, and I do this one a lot for cons and other storytelling things, so I think y'all will like it. First time I encountered the King's Messengers was early October night, about 1980. Me and my uncle had been to a concert up at the old Charlotte Coliseum. I believe we saw Parliament Funkadelic. It's a really good show. It was amazing. But I tell you what, I was starving when the show let out. I'm not sure why, but it smelled funny inside the building. But my uncle was cool as he could be. He had a motorcycle, had the Farrah Fawcett hair, was going to school at Carolina with George Rogers when he was winning the Heisman. He was cool. So we get on the bike, we head back towards Spartanburg, and stop in Gastonia to eat at one of the White Waffle House. Because what else do you do when you're 8 years old and high as a kite? While we're there, he's asking the waitress about traffic going south on 85, and apparently there's a hell of a wreck right at the state line. Uncle says, that's cool, I know a shortcut. I was still young and still buzzed. I had no idea that that's always a bad idea. Shortcuts never work out. We get on the bike and we cross 85 and go around our elbow to get to our chin. And we wind up on the Catawba River somewhere south of Gastonia. I'm not 100% sure where it was. But we came to a T intersection. I never will forget it. The white split rail fence behind one of the big yellow signs with the black arrows pointing either direction, and a street light. Now there are these two guys standing there with horses. Both of them are off there obviously looking at a map, trying to figure out what's going on with their backs to us. My uncle, being a good southern boy of a certain age, hollers, how can we help y'all? And they both stand up straight and look over at us. And the short one on the right facing us has an empty eye socket here. Most of his bottom jaw's gone. A cockroach crawls out of what used to be the eye socket and runs into what used to be an ear. He's a lovely shade of lime green. Yeah, just beautiful. And the taller guy has a lovely gash across his forehead. It's probably about 4 inches long, good 2 inches wide. He's got both his eyes, but his nose is gone, and everything from his upper lip down is bone. And at this point, I begin to crawl inside my uncle's motorcycle helmet. Because I'm smart enough to realize that this ain't natural. So I freak out, and of course my uncle sits there on the bike, and they ask, which way to Charlottetown? I could hear my uncle thinking, how stupid are these guys? And he points over his shoulder and says, about 10 miles that way, you can't miss it, just look for the big lights. Thank you. They get on their horses, and they immediately head off to the left. And my uncle has spoke what has become my motto, I think. Damn, people stupid. And we head off and we go around and we wind up back on 85 South somewhere the Charlotte side of Gaffney and head on to the house. Like I say, I was young and I was apparently impaired, but I'm smart enough to realize that guys missing body parts who are lime green do not typically have conversations under street lights at like 2 in the morning. So I went to the library and started doing some digging, and it turns out that when Major Ferguson and his Tories were sitting on top of Kings Mountain, he decided that for all his big talk, that he probably needed something needed some reinforcements from Cornwallis, who was in Charlotte at the time. So he sends 2 guys to go beg Cornwallis for a couple more men. On his approach to Kings Mountain on the Catawba, his forces had stopped and eaten at an inn run by a patriot and his wife. During the discussion, of course, politics came up. The gentleman made the statement, basically, hurrah for our side. 2 Tories took offense, cut the guy's throat, and threw him in the Catawba River, and threatened to do horrible things to the wife and miscellaneous, but the army rode on. A couple of days later, the 2 geniuses that killed the husband show up at the inn. And they show up, they chicken wings and moonshine and whatever ale. And while they're sitting there trying to figure out the best way to get to where they've got to go to meet Cornwallis and everything else, the wife grabs the hatchet that she uses to split the wood for the stew pot and whaps them both in the head, kills them, manages to find 2 rocks in the yard big enough to tie around their ankles, and throws them in the Catawba, where they're still apparently bobbing along today. They, of course, October 1780, Ferguson's mouth is written a check his behind can't cash. The Over-Mountain men come down from Tennessee. A couple of thousand local patriots get together, annihilate Ferguson's command, which is a whole other story. You have to buy the book to hear about Kings Mountains goes. But it bodes ill. And the moral of this whole story is, Mike and Charlie, is you have to treat people like you want to be treated now. Because if not, you'll come back around and you'll get what you gave that much the worse. Thank y'all very much. Happy anniversary, and happy holidays to everybody. Thank y'all. Night.
Tally Johnson, everybody.
Thank you, Tally. Tally, you're awesome.
We will have links to his website, where to find him, some of his books in our notes here on the video.
And Tally will be at RetCon in February in Cary, North Carolina.
What else are we doing in 2023, Michael?
Oh, yeah.
So in January, it's not a show, but we will be at the WRAL Voters' Choice Awards.
Yeah, we are going to be at the awards ceremony with no idea whether or not we won.
So if you're there, say hi. Maybe we'll live stream something.
Maybe.
Make fun of ourselves in front of a bunch of serious people.
In front of the Triangle's best celebrities. And us.
Look at all these prominent people that you see on billboards and TV ads.
Right?
And us.
Very strange. But really flattering and awesome.
And then in February, we'll be at RetCon.
RetCon.
I do want to say this on video. I've posted it on Facebook. If you volunteer at RetCon, I'll give you a free t-shirt.
You're not going to get a better deal than that, frankly. Not from us, anyway.
No, you'll get into the show, and I'll give you a t-shirt. An Arcane Carolinas t-shirt, not a RetCon t-shirt. We're not actually the RetCon people. We're just going to be there.
And so RetCon is happening in the same place that a convention that used to happen called Logicon happened. And it's going to be like the perfect size where you can meet people and talk and have great conversations and not feel totally overwhelmed, but also there will always be something fun to do.
Mm-hmm. It should be a really good time.
It's in the exact sweet spot for me.
Yeah. You are definitely a smaller show kind of guy.
Oh, I do not like big shows, quite frankly.
Except for
GalaxyCon.
In March, where we are going to Richmond, Virginia.
Yes.
We will be in Richmond, Virginia for 3 days for GalaxyCon, which I am so excited about. I'm really appreciative of them for having us there. And we're going to do a little thing for people that aren't in Richmond, Virginia, where we do a March Madness bracket of the Bazaar.
Yes.
Where we will live stream and we'll have a big whiteboard or something. And we'll talk about monsters and ghosts and legends, and people can vote, and we'll see who wins. We'll see who wins the bracket.
Yeah, we'll figure out a solution.
Yeah, it'll be why am I blanking out? The Lake Norman monster versus, the ghost at UNC. kind of thing. And people can say like, I like this one because of that.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. So even if you're not in Richmond, Virginia, we will have that going on in March for you.
Yeah. And we're going to do some live episodes at GalaxyCon Richmond. And I'll be doing some author panels.
Yeah, you're going to be really busy.
Yeah, I am.
I won't. I'll just be doing Arcane Carolinas stuff. So I'll be there all 3 days. We'll be doing stuff all 3 days. But otherwise, I'll be in the Mystical Experiences room.
Excellent.
Yeah. So who's that? Ah, it's the Ghost of Christmas Now. That's it, man. Thanks for doing this.
We don't have confirmation of other things. We do have plans for other things in 2023 as well.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and say that Arcana has already said they want us back.
Yeah.
To kick off.
And we're going to do that. That's in Durham, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And we do have things in pencil throughout the rest of the calendar year. But what you need to worry about, if you're interested in seeing us,
is Retcon.
If you're in North Carolina or willing to drive from South Carolina, and then again, Richmond, Virginia, March, GalaxyCon.
Yep.
It's going to be a good time. Thanks.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
And now I'll edit in some snow.
Like UHF static or weather effect?
Ooh, maybe I'll do like the blurry cable channel. You've been listening to Arcane Carolinas. Thanks for joining us. If you liked it, give us a rating, leave a comment. If you didn't like it, send us an email and tell us why. If you're not wrong, we'll try to fix it.
And if you're interested in award-winning speculative fiction, including science fiction, urban fantasy, and horror, find me, Michael G. Williams, at michaelgwilliamsbooks.com, and check out Falstaff Books at falstaffbooks.com.
If you'd like to pick up some Arcane Carolinas merch, look at behind-the-scenes info, pictures, videos, stuff like that, all the things that get cut, check out arcanecarolinas.com, where you can get access to our Patreon, our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, all that in one place, including the merch store. Buy a shirt.
Clothe your body.
Drape your body in our wares.
Be our living billboards.